You are about to learn a simple 60-second movement with your hands that can force your blood pressure down rapidly. I am about to show you a technique that doesn't involve changing your diet, and it doesn't involve running on a treadmill, but it uses a specific reflex in your nervous system to open up your blood vessels. I have seen patients come into my office with their top number over 160, terrified that they were about to have a stroke, and within minutes of correcting how they use their hands, we saw those numbers drop to a safe range. If you have been feeling that tightness in your chest, or that throbbing pressure behind your eyes that just won't go away, you need to pay close attention to this. I'm Dr. Ben Harris, and today I am going to walk you through exactly how to use your hands to lower your blood pressure. But before I give you the main 60-second trick, I have to warn you about a mistake you are likely making right now. This first method is what we call isometric hand grip training. It is not just a casual squeeze. It is a specific medical protocol that has been proven to lower resting blood pressure more effectively than aerobic exercise in some cases. Let me tell you about Robert. Robert came to see me because he was incredibly frustrated. He was 74 years old. He had done everything his previous doctor asked him to do. He was walking 30 minutes every morning around his neighborhood. He had cut out table salt almost completely, which made his food taste bland, but he did it anyway because he wanted to be healthy. Despite all of that hard work, his morning blood pressure readings were still hovering around 150/90. He felt like his body was broken. He told me, "Dr. Ben, I am doing the work, but the numbers just won't budge." Robert's problem wasn't a lack of effort. His problem was that his blood vessels had become stiff over the years. This is a very common part of aging. When your arteries are stiff, they cannot expand easily to let blood flow through. Walking is great for your heart, but it doesn't always provide enough of a signal to relax those stiff arteries when you are at rest. We started Robert on a specific isometric hand grip routine. He didn't have to go to a gym. He did this while sitting in his recliner watching the evening news. Within 4 weeks, Robert's resting systolic pressure, that is the top number, had dropped by 12 points. He didn't change his pills. He didn't change his diet further. He just changed what he did with his hands. Here is why this works. When you squeeze your hand into a fist with significant force and hold it, you are performing an isometric exercise. Isometric just means the muscle is tensing without moving or changing length. When you hold that squeeze, the muscles in your forearm contract tightly. This contraction temporarily squeezes the blood vessels in your arm, restricting blood flow for a brief moment. This sounds like a bad thing, but it is actually the trigger we want. When you release the squeeze, blood rushes back into those vessels. This sudden rush of blood creates what we call shear stress on the lining of your arteries. Your body senses this rush and responds by releasing a powerful molecule called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is your body's natural vasodilator. That is a fancy word that just means it tells your blood vessels to relax and open up wide. When the vessels open up, the pressure inside them drops. It is just like turning on a second faucet in your house. The pressure in the pipes goes down. Recent studies have highlighted that isometric training can be incredibly effective for lowering blood pressure in older adults. So here is how you do it properly. You do not need an expensive device, although they do sell digital hand dynamometers if you want to be precise. You can start simply with a rolled-up washcloth or a firm stress ball. Sit comfortably in a chair with your feet flat on the floor. Make sure your back is supported. Take the rolled-up towel in your right hand, squeeze the towel as hard as you can, and then release it slightly so you are holding it at about 30% of your maximum effort. You don't want to squeeze until your knuckles turn white and your hand shakes violently. You want a firm, sustained grip. Hold that squeeze for exactly 2 minutes. I know 2 minutes sounds like a long time when you are holding a squeeze. You might feel a little bit of burning in your forearm muscles. That is normal. While you are squeezing, it is absolutely critical that you do not hold your breath. Holding your breath can cause your blood pressure to spike temporarily, which is the opposite of what we want. Breathe normally and rhythmically, in through your nose and out through your mouth. After 2 minutes, let go of the towel. Rest for 1 full minute. Just let your hands relax on your lap. Then, switch to your left hand and do the same thing. Squeeze at 30% effort for 2 minutes, then rest for 1 minute. Repeat this so that you do 2 squeezes on the right hand and 2 squeezes on the left hand. The whole routine takes about 11 or 12 minutes. Robert did this 3 times a week. It is not a quick fix that works in 5 minutes, but over a few weeks, it retrains your nervous system to keep your blood pressure lower all day long. However, if you have uncontrolled hypertension, or if you have any aneurysm, please check with your doctor before starting isometric exercises, just to be safe. This is a powerful tool because it treats the root cause of stiffness in the arteries. It sends a chemical signal to your entire body to relax the pipes. Before we move on to the next step, I want to hear from you. Comment your age and your usual top number range below. Do you check it in the morning or the evening? I read through the comments to understand what you are dealing with. The second item is finding the heart-level hand placement. This is not an exercise. This is a correction of a mistake that thousands of seniors make every single day. This mistake leads to false readings, unnecessary panic, and sometimes unnecessary increases in medication. I want to tell you about a patient named Margaret. Margaret was 68 years old and she lived alone. She was very diligent about her health. She bought a home blood pressure monitor because she wanted to keep an eye on things. One Tuesday evening, she called my office in a panic. She said, "Dr. Ben, my machine says 180 over 100. Should I go to the emergency room?" I asked her how she was feeling. She said she felt fine, maybe a little anxious because of the number, but she had no chest pain and no shortness of breath. I asked her to describe exactly how she was sitting when she took the reading. She told me she was sitting on her living room sofa. She had the cuff on her arm, and her arm was resting down at her side on the sofa cushion. I told her to stop. I told her to go to her dining room table. I told her to sit in a hard-backed chair. I told her to place her arm on the table so that the cuff was at the same level as her heart. She did this, waited 5 minutes to calm down, and took the reading again. It was 135 over 85. It was still a little elevated because she was nervous, but it was nowhere near the emergency levels she saw on the couch. Margaret's high blood pressure in that moment was actually a physics error. This is called a hydrostatic pressure error. Your blood pressure is simply the pressure of the fluid in your pipes. Gravity affects that pressure. If your arm is dangling down at your side, below the level of your heart, the weight of the column of blood in your arm adds to the pressure. This can make your reading look 10 to 15 points higher than it actually is. Conversely, if you lift your arm way up in the air, above your heart, the reading will be falsely low. Most seniors know they should sit down to take their pressure, but very few realize that the position of the hand and arm is the deciding factor in accuracy. You must get this right, or you are making decisions based on bad data. Here is the correct way to place your hand and arm. Sit in a chair with back support. Do not sit on a soft couch where you sink in, because that compresses your abdomen and can raise your pressure too. Place your feet flat on the floor. Do not cross your legs. Crossing your legs can raise your systolic pressure by up to 8 points. Now, look at your arm. You need to support your arm on a flat surface, like a table or a desk. The cuff on your upper arm should be at the same height as your heart. Your heart is roughly in the middle of your chest, slightly to the left. If you are sitting at a standard dining table, your arm might be a little too low. This is where the pillow prop comes in. If the table is too low, take a small pillow or a folded towel and place it under your elbow and forearm. This raises your arm up. Your hand should be relaxed. Your palm should be facing up or resting neutrally. Do not clench your fist. Remember the isometric exercise we just talked about. If you clench your fist while the machine is running, you are driving your pressure up. You want your hand to be completely limp, like a wet noodle. Margaret started using the pillow prop technique every morning. Her readings became consistent. She stopped having those panic-inducing spikes. She realized that her medication was working just fine. Her measurement technique was the problem. This is critical because if your doctor sees those false high numbers, they might increase your dosage. Taking too much blood pressure medication when you don't need it can lead to dizziness, falls, and fainting. So fixing your hand placement is actually a safety measure. It protects you from over-medication. Always take 2 or 3 readings, spaced about 1 minute apart, and average them. The first reading is almost always the highest because your body is reacting to the squeeze of the cuff. Ignore the first one if it is high and look at the second and third. The third item is the He-Gu acupressure point. This is a technique derived from traditional Chinese medicine, but it is supported by modern understanding of the nervous system. We often call this point large intestine 4 or Li4. It is located on your hand. This technique is particularly useful for what we call reactive high blood pressure. This is when your pressure spikes because of stress, anxiety, or pain. Let me introduce you to James. James was 79. He had a severe case of what we call white coat syndrome. Every time he came to my office, his blood pressure would skyrocket. At home, he said it was usually around 130, but the moment he walked into the clinic, seeing the nurses and the equipment, it would jump to 170. He would get sweaty palms and his heart would race. This is the sympathetic nervous system kicking into high gear. It is the fight or flight response. James felt like he couldn't control it. I taught James the He-Gu massage to use while he was sitting in the waiting room. The next time he came in, I saw him in the waiting area. He was sitting quietly, massaging his hand. When we brought him back and took his pressure, it was 145. Still a little elevated, but significantly lower than his usual 170. He felt calmer. He felt more in control of his body. Stimulating this specific point on the hand helps to down-regulate the sympathetic nervous system. It signals the body to shift towards the parasympathetic state. That is the rest and digest mode. When you are in rest and digest, your heart rate slows down and your blood vessels relax. Here is how you find the spot. Look at the back of your hand. Find the area between your thumb and your index finger. There is a fleshy web of skin and muscle there. Squeeze your thumb and index finger together close to your hand. You will see a little mound of muscle pop up. The highest point of that mound is the spot. Relax your hand. Take the thumb and index finger of your other hand and pinch that spot. You should feel a dull ache or a heavy sensation when you press it. If you feel a sharp, piercing pain, you might be pressing too hard or pinching just the skin. You want to apply deep, firm pressure to the muscle underneath. Massage this point in a circular motion. Do this for 60 seconds. Close your eyes while you do it. Take slow, deep breaths. Focus all your attention on that sensation in your hand. After 60 seconds, switch hands and do the same thing on the other side. This is something you can do anywhere. You can do it while you are watching television. You can do it while you are sitting in traffic if you are a passenger. You can do it in the doctor's waiting room, just like James did. It is a discreet way to lower your stress levels instantly. When your stress drops, your cortisol drops. Cortisol is a stress hormone that tightens your blood vessels. So by lowering stress, you are physically helping your blood flow. However, there is a caution here. This point is known to stimulate strong energy flow in the body. If you are pregnant or if you know someone who is pregnant, they should not use this point as it can induce contractions. But for seniors managing blood pressure, it is generally very safe and effective for stress relief. This supports steadier readings throughout the day because it prevents those jagged spikes caused by worry. Using your hands to calm your nervous system is a tool that you always have with you. You don't need to carry a pill bottle to use this, you just need your own hands. We have covered the isometric squeeze to retrain the vessels. We have covered the placement to ensure accuracy. And we have covered the pressure point to stop stress spikes. But there are more ways your hands influence your heart. Some of them involve water. Some of them involve how you breathe. And one of them involves how you walk. I mentioned earlier that I would show you the strongest lever, and we are getting to that. One of the most surprising connections is how the temperature of your hands changes the pressure in your chest. If you suffer from cold hands and feet, this next tip is going to be a game changer for you. Many seniors have poor circulation in their extremities. When your hands are cold, the blood vessels in your hands constrict. They clamp down tight to preserve heat. This forces more blood back into your core. When more volume is pushed into the core, the pressure in your central arteries goes up. It is a simple displacement problem, but you can reverse this process using nothing but a bowl of water. This next method is incredibly soothing, and it works very quickly to drop pressure before a measurement. I want to explain exactly how to do the warm water hand soak, But before I give you the specific temperature and timing for that, let's look at why your hands get cold in the first place. It is often a sign that your sympathetic nervous system is too active. Your body is stuck in survival mode. By warming the hands, we trick the body into feeling safe. The fourth item is the warm water hand soak. As I was saying, this technique is about using heat to trigger vasodilation. Vasodilation is the widening of your blood vessels. When the vessels in your hands and feet open up, it pulls blood away from the core and lowers the overall systemic pressure. Let me tell you about Elaine. Elaine was 72. She always complained about her hands being freezing cold. Even in the summer, her fingers felt like ice cubes. She also noticed that her morning blood pressure was always the highest of the day. This is common as we have a natural cortisol spike in the morning, but Elaine's numbers were consistently in the 150s. I explained to Elaine that her cold hands were acting like a dam. They were blocking blood flow to the extremities, keeping the pressure high in her chest and head. We tried a simple experiment. I asked her to warm her hands before taking her blood pressure. The next time I saw her, she was beaming. "Dr. Ben," she said, "it dropped 10 points just by warming my hands." Here is what she did and what you can do. Get a large bowl or use your bathroom sink. Fill it with warm water. It should be pleasantly warm, like a bath, not scalding hot. You do not want to burn yourself. The temperature should be around 100 to 105 degrees Fahrenheit if you have a thermometer, but testing it with your elbow is usually fine. If it feels soothing, it is right. Sit comfortably in a chair next to the sink or with the bowl on a table. Submerge both of your hands into the water. Make sure the water covers your wrists. Your wrists have major arteries running through them close to the surface. Warming the wrists helps warm the blood flowing through them. Keep your hands in the water for 2 to 3 minutes. Close your eyes and focus on the sensation of the heat soaking into your bones. Imagine the blood vessels in your fingers relaxing and opening up. Feel the tension leaving your shoulders. After 2 or 3 minutes, take your hands out and pat them dry with a soft towel. Do not rub them vigorously, just pat them dry. Sit for another minute to let your body adjust. Then take your blood pressure measurement. Elaine found that this simple ritual not only improved her readings, but also made her feel much calmer to start her day. It is a physical signal to your body that you are safe and warm. This is helpful for anyone, but especially for those of you who notice your hands are often pale or cold. If you have diabetes or neuropathy, please be very careful with the water temperature. Check the water with a thermometer, or have a family member check it for you to ensure it is not too hot, as you might not feel a burn if you have reduced sensation. This simple soak helps redistribute your blood volume properly. It takes the load off your heart. It is a gentle, pleasant way to manage your health. If you know someone over 50 who could benefit from this, share this video and subscribe for more simple blood pressure and blood sugar tips. The fifth item is the open palm breathing sink. This combines a hand movement with a breathing technique to create a biofeedback loop. Biofeedback is just a way of gaining control over involuntary bodily functions, like heart rate and blood pressure. We are going to use your hands as a metronome for your breath. I want to introduce you to William. William was 82 years old. He had a habit of shallow breathing. When we get older or when we are stressed, we tend to take short, shallow breaths into our upper chest. This type of breathing signals the brain that something is wrong. It keeps the heart rate elevated. William's systolic pressure was stubborn. He would sit to take his pressure, but he would be breathing quickly and shallowly, staring at the machine. I taught him to sync his hands with his breath. He told me later, "Dr. Ben, it gives me something to focus on, so I don't worry about the numbers." Here is how you do the open palm sink. Sit comfortably with your hands resting on your thighs. Make loose fists with your hands. Not tight, just gently closed. Now, as you take a slow, deep breath in through your nose, slowly open your hands. Stretch your fingers out wide as your lungs fill up. Imagine that your hands are inflating with air just like your lungs. This should take about 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Your hands are now fully open, palms facing up. Hold your breath for just a second. Now, as you exhale slowly through your mouth, gently close your hands back into loose fists. Imagine you are squeezing the air out of your body with your hands. This exhalation should take about 6 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Your hands are now closed again. Repeat this cycle. Open on the inhale, close on the exhale. The movement of your hands helps you pace your breathing. It forces you to slow down. When you slow your breathing to about 6 breaths per minute, you trigger a reflex called the baroreflex. This reflex increases the sensitivity of the pressure sensors in your arteries. It helps your body regulate blood pressure more efficiently. William practiced this for 5 minutes every evening before dinner. He found that it lowered his evening readings significantly. It also helped him sleep better because it quieted his mind. Most older adults can try this safely. If you feel lightheaded from the deep breathing, just return to your normal breathing rhythm for a moment. Do not force the breath. Keep it smooth and comfortable. This technique bridges the gap between your mind and your body. It gives your hands a job to do that supports your heart. Here is another simple habit. The 6th item is the loose grip walking rule. This is for when you are active. We talked about isometric squeezing earlier as an exercise, but there is a time when you absolutely do not want to squeeze your hands. That is when you are walking or doing aerobic activity. I see this mistake constantly. Seniors walking around the park trying to get their steps in with their fists clenched tight, or they are carrying heavy grocery bags, gripping the handles with white knuckles. Let me tell you about Linda. Linda was 66. She was very active and loved power walking. She wore a fitness tracker that monitored her heart rate. She noticed that her heart rate would spike unusually high during her walks, and she would feel dizzy sometimes. When I watched her walk, I saw immediately what was wrong. She was pumping her arms, which is good, but her hands were balled up into tight fists. She was essentially doing that isometric blood pressure raising exercise while she was trying to do cardio. This causes a massive spike in blood pressure. It is called the pressor response. When you grip something hard while moving your legs, your heart has to work double time. It has to pump against the resistance of the squeezed muscles in your arms. I told Linda to use the loose grip rule. I told her to imagine she was holding a potato chip in each hand. She had to hold it without crushing it. The next time she walked, she kept her hands open and relaxed. She told me, "Dr. Ben, I felt like I could walk forever. I didn't get dizzy at all." If you are walking for exercise, check your hands. Are they clenched? Shake them out. Let your fingers be loose. If you carry groceries, try not to grip the bags with a death grip. If the bags are heavy, consider using a cart or making more trips with lighter loads. Carrying heavy loads with a tight grip is one of the most common triggers for a blood pressure spike in seniors. It puts a sudden, intense load on the heart. Walking with heavy hands means letting gravity pull your shoulders down and your hands loose. This ensures that your exercise is actually lowering your blood pressure, not raising it. Linda's dizziness went away completely once she stopped clenching. It is a small change, but it protects your heart during activity. The 7th item is grip strength maintenance. This might sound contradictory to what I just said, but stick with me. We want loose hands when walking, but we want strong hands generally. There is a very strong correlation between grip strength and heart health. Studies have shown that weak grip strength is a predictor of higher mortality and cardiovascular disease in older adults. If your grip is weak, it is often a sign that your overall muscle mass is declining. We want to build strength without spiking pressure. I want to introduce you to Thomas. Thomas was 75. He was becoming frail. He had trouble opening jars and carrying the laundry basket. His blood pressure was volatile. It would go up and down unpredictably. I encouraged Thomas to start a very gentle grip strengthening routine separate from the isometric holds. This is about keeping the muscles functional. We used a simple rubber band. I told Thomas to get a thick rubber band, like the kind you find on broccoli at the grocery store. He would put the rubber band around his fingers and thumb. Then he would open his hand, stretching the band. This works the extensor muscles, the opposite of the squeezing muscles. He did 10 repetitions on each hand once a day. He also started squeezing a soft foam ball, not for a long hold, but just squeeze and release, like pumping a gas pedal. This rhythmic movement helps pump blood back to the heart. Unlike the long hold, which raises pressure momentarily to lower it later, this rhythmic squeezing improves circulation immediately. Thomas slowly regained the strength to open jars. His frailty decreased, and interestingly, his blood pressure stabilized. He wasn't having those wild swings anymore. Having a baseline of strength makes everyday tasks easier on your heart. If opening a jar requires 100% of your strength, your blood pressure will spike. If you get stronger and opening that jar only requires 50% of your strength, your blood pressure stays stable. That is the goal. We want to make the world easier for your heart to navigate. Thomas found that feeling stronger in his hands made him feel younger and more capable. You can do the rubber band stretch while reading or watching TV. It is low impact and easy on the joints. Most older adults can try this safely. The 8th item is the hand portion plate method. We have talked a lot about blood pressure mechanics, but we cannot ignore the fuel you put into the engine. Blood sugar and blood pressure are like twins. When one gets out of control, the other usually follows. High blood sugar damages your blood vessels, making them stiff, which raises your blood pressure. I see many seniors struggling with complex diets. They are trying to weigh their food on digital scales. They are trying to count calories in an app on their phone, which is frustrating and hurts their eyes. I want to introduce you to Martha. Martha was 71. She had type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure. She was overwhelmed. She had a kitchen drawer full of measuring cups and a digital scale that she hated using. Because it was so much work to measure everything, she eventually stopped doing it. She went back to eyeballing her portions, and her portions slowly got bigger and bigger. Her morning blood sugar started creeping up to 160. Her blood pressure followed it up to 155/90. I told Martha to put the scale away. I told her she already had the perfect measuring tool attached to her arms. Your hand size is generally proportional to your body size, making it a surprisingly accurate tool for portion control. Here is how you use the hand portion method for every single meal. First, look at your palm. The palm of your hand without the fingers and thumb is the size of the protein you need. That is your piece of chicken, your fish, or your beef. The thickness of the meat should also match the thickness of your palm. Next, make a fist. The size of your clenched fist is the portion size for your vegetables. You want at least one fist-sized portion of green vegetables like broccoli, spinach, or green beans at every meal. If you can eat 2 fists of greens, that is even better. Now cup your hand. The amount of starchy carbohydrates, like rice, potatoes, or pasta, that fits in your cupped hand is your limit. Most restaurants serve 3 or 4 cupped hands worth of pasta. That is a blood sugar disaster. Finally, look at your thumb. The entire thumb represents the amount of fat you should add, like cheese. The tip of your thumb, from the knuckle up, is the amount of oil or butter. Martha started using this simple rule. She didn't feel restricted. She felt guided. She could do this at home. She could do this at a restaurant. She could do this at her granddaughter's wedding. Within 3 months, her A1C dropped by a full point. Because her insulin levels came down, her body held onto less water and salt. Her blood pressure dropped naturally as a side effect of controlling her blood sugar. This method works because it is consistent. It prevents the portion creep that happens when we get hungry. If you are diabetic, this is the easiest way to keep your numbers flat without doing math at the dinner table. The 9th item is the skin turgor pinch test. This is a 60-second check that tells you about your hydration status. You might wonder what hydration has to do with blood pressure. It is actually one of the most critical factors. Many seniors are chronically dehydrated. As we age, our sense of thirst diminishes. You might not feel thirsty even when your body is crying out for water. When you are dehydrated, your blood volume drops. To compensate for this, your body constricts your blood vessels to keep your pressure up so you don't faint. But also, dehydration makes your blood thicker and more viscous. Think of it like pumping water versus pumping maple syrup. Your heart has to work much harder to pump thick blood. This raises your blood pressure. Let me tell you about George. George was 78. He was taking a diuretic, a water pill, for his blood pressure. He was terrified of having an accident, so he stopped drinking water almost completely. He would have maybe 1 cup of coffee in the morning and a few sips of water with his pills. He came in feeling dizzy, confused, and his blood pressure was erratic, sometimes very high, sometimes dangerously low when he stood up. I showed George the pinch test. Here is how you do it. Place your hand on the table, palm down, relaxed. With your other hand, pinch the skin on the back of your hand. Pull the skin up gently and hold it for a second. Then release it. If you are well hydrated, the skin should snap back to its normal position instantly. It should look smooth right away. In George's case, the skin stayed tented up. It stood there like a little ridge for about 3 or 4 seconds before slowly sinking back down. This is a sign of significant dehydration. We adjusted George's water intake. We didn't tell him to drink a gallon a day, just to sip water consistently. We aimed for 60 ounces a day. His dizziness vanished. His blood pressure stabilized because his blood was no longer thick sludge. If you are taking water pills, you must be careful, but you cannot stop drinking water. Do this pinch test every morning. If your skin tense, drink a tall glass of water immediately before you have your coffee. Coffee is a mild diuretic, so it doesn't count towards your hydration in the same way. Maintaining fluid balance is the cheapest blood pressure medicine there is. The 10th item is the steering wheel degrip. This is for those of you who still drive. Driving is one of the most stressful activities for the modern senior. Traffic is faster. Signs are harder to read. Drivers are more aggressive. I want to talk about Frank. Frank was 69 and still drove to see his grandkids every weekend. It was a 40-minute drive on the highway. He told me that by the time he got to his daughter's house, he felt exhausted and his face was flushed. He checked his blood pressure once when he arrived, and it was 170/95. He thought it was just the excitement of seeing the kids, but then he noticed it happened even when he drove to the grocery store. I asked Frank to show me how he holds his steering wheel. He mimicked holding the wheel at the 10 and 2 position. His knuckles were white. He was gripping that wheel like he was trying to strangle it. He was doing a 40-minute isometric hold, combined with high stress. That is a recipe for a heart attack. We implemented the steering wheel reset. Here is what you do. First, adjust your seat so you are not reaching too far for the wheel. Reaching causes tension in the shoulders-drawn neck, which raises BP. Second, drop your hands to the 8 and 4 or 9 and 3 position. This is actually safer for modern cars with airbags anyway. Third, and most importantly, use the open hand technique when you are stopped at a red light. Every time Frank hit a red light, he made a rule. He would take his hands off the wheel completely and shake them out. He would rest them on his lap until the light turned green. While driving, he practiced holding the wheel with just enough pressure to control the car, not to crush it. He realized he didn't need a death grip to stay in the lane. He also started leaving 10 minutes early so he wasn't rushing. The next time he drove to his daughter's, his arrival blood pressure was 135. That is a massive difference. The car should be a mode of transport, not a torture chamber for your arteries. If you feel road rage bubbling up, look at your hands. If they are claws, you are hurting your heart. Open them up. Breathe. The 11th item is the tech claw release. This is a modern problem that affects seniors just as much as teenagers. Many of you are using smartphones or tablets to stay in touch with family. You are reading news on a small screen. You are texting your grandchildren. Let me introduce you to Sarah. Sarah was 70. She loved her iPad. She would spend hours in the evening reading books on it and playing word games. She noticed her neck was always stiff, and her blood pressure was higher in the evenings than in the mornings. Usually BP drops in the evening. Hers was rising. This is often caused by what we call text neck and the tech claw. When you hold a tablet or phone, you often curl your hands tightly to support it. Simultaneously, you look down, dropping your chin to your chest. For every inch your head tilts forward, the weight on your neck increases by 10 pounds. This tension in the neck muscles compresses the vagus nerve and the carotid arteries. It sends a signal of strain to the brain, which responds by raising blood pressure. Sarah was essentially pinching off her own blood flow while playing Scrabble. I taught Sarah a simple rule. Eye level is heart level. If she wanted to use her iPad, she had to prop it up on a pillow or a stand so it was at eye level. She didn't have to hold it. This freed her hands. It freed her neck, but we also added a hand stretch to counter the claw. After every level of her game, she had to put the device down. She would extend her arm out in front of her, palm facing away, fingers pointing up. She would use her other hand to gently pull her fingers back towards her face. This stretches the flexor muscles in the forearm. She would hold it for 10 seconds. Then she would point her fingers down and pull them gently towards her body. This released the tension that had been building up for hours. Her evening headaches went away. Her evening blood pressure readings normalized. Technology is wonderful, but do not let it twist your body into stressful shapes. If you are watching this video on a phone right now, check your posture. Are you looking down? Are you gripping the phone tight? Lift it up. Relax your hand. The 12th item is the morning stiffness check. This is a specific check for blood sugar control, using your hands as a diagnostic tool. High blood sugar causes inflammation. It causes what we call glycation. This is where sugar molecules bind to proteins in your joints and tendons, making them sticky and stiff. This often shows up first in the hands. I want to talk about David. David was 65. He was pre-diabetic, but he wasn't taking it very seriously. He thought he could eat whatever he wanted as long as he took a walk later. He started complaining that his hands felt like old leather gloves in the morning. He couldn't make a tight fist right after waking up. It took him about an hour of moving around before his hands felt loose. He thought this was just arthritis. I told him it could be, but it is also a classic sign of diabetic chemoarthropathy, or simply stiff hand syndrome. It meant his overnight blood sugar levels were staying too high for too long. We used his hands as his motivation. I told him, David, if your hands are stiff, your heart valves are stiff too. The same sugar is affecting all the collagen in your body. That scared him enough to make a change. He started testing his fasting blood sugar immediately when he woke up. Sure enough, it was 115 to 120. He changed his evening snack. Instead of a bowl of cereal, which is pure sugar, he switched to a handful of walnuts. Walnuts have healthy fats and no sugar. Within 2 weeks, his fasting sugar dropped to under 100, and the most amazing thing happened. His morning hand stiffness disappeared. He could make a fist the moment he woke up. Use your hands as a morning report card. When you wake up tomorrow, try to make a fist. Does it feel tight? Does the skin feel thick? If so, look at what you ate last night. Look at your sugar intake. Your body is telling you that it is inflamed. Listen to it. The 13th item is the finger prick rotation. This is specifically for those of you who monitor your blood sugar at home. The act of testing your blood sugar can sometimes raise your blood pressure if you do it wrong. It involves pain, and anticipation of pain causes a flinch response. This releases adrenaline. I had a patient named Betty. Betty was 74. She had to check her sugar twice a day. She used the same finger every single time, the index finger of her left hand. Over time, that fingertip became calloused and incredibly sensitive. She started dreading the test. Every time she got the glucometer out, her heart rate would go up. She would hold her breath right before the needle clicked. This anxiety was affecting her blood pressure readings, which she took right after. We needed to desensitize the process. I taught her the side finger rule and the rotation method. First, never prick the pad of your fingertip. That is where all the nerve endings are. That is the most painful spot. Always prick the side of the finger, just off to the center. There are fewer nerves there, but plenty of blood supply. Second, use a different finger every time. You have 10 fingers. If you test twice a day, you can go 5 days without repeating a finger. Use the sides of the pinky, the ring finger, the middle finger. Give your index finger a break. Third, warm your hand before you prick. We talked about warm water earlier. If your hand is cold, you have to prick deeper to get blood. If your hand is warm, the blood is right there at the surface, and you can use the lowest setting on your lancer. Betty started warming her hands and using her ring finger. She said, "Dr. Ben, I didn't even feel it." Her anxiety about the testing vanished. Her subsequent blood pressure readings were calm and accurate. Do not create unnecessary pain for yourself. Managing your health should not be a punishment. The 14th item is the nail bed press. This is a quick check for circulation and capillary refill time. It helps you confirm that your peripheral circulation is working well. Good circulation means your heart doesn't have to pump as hard. Take your thumb and press down firmly on the fingernail of your other hand's middle finger. Press until the nail bed turns white. Release the pressure quickly. Watch how fast the pink color returns. It should return in less than 2 seconds. 1, 2. If it takes longer than 2 seconds to turn pink again, it means your peripheral blood flow is sluggish. This could be due to cold, dehydration, or stiff arteries. If you consistently see a slow return time, it is a signal to use the other tools we discussed. Do the warm water soak, drink a glass of water, do the isometric squeeze exercise if you are resting. It is a real-time dashboard for your vascular health. 15. The 15th item is the prayer position stretch. We are going to end with a movement that releases tension in the chest and calms the mind. Tight chest muscles can restrict your breathing capacity. When you cannot take a full breath, your oxygen levels drop slightly and your heart rate rises to compensate. This simple stretch opens the chest cavity and centers the nervous system. Sit upright in your chair. Bring your palms together in front of your chest in a prayer position. Press your palms together firmly. Feel the muscles in your chest engage. Now, while keeping your palms pressed together, take a deep breath in and slowly lift your hands up towards the ceiling. Go as high as your shoulders allow without pain. Imagine you are lengthening your spine. As you exhale, bring your hands back down to the center of your chest and relax the pressure. Drop your shoulders down away from your ears. Do this 5 times, up on the inhale, down on the exhale. This movement does 3 things. It engages the arm muscles gently. It expands the rib cage, allowing for deeper breaths. It centers your focus, acting as a moment of mindfulness. I recommend doing this right before you eat a meal. It calms the body, preparing it for digestion. Digestion works best when you are in a parasympathetic, relaxed state. If you eat while you are stressed, your blood sugar spikes higher. So this simple hand movement helps with both blood pressure and blood sugar. Conclusion. We have covered 15 different ways your hands influence your health. It is truly remarkable, isn't it? Most people think health comes from a pill bottle, but you have just learned that you have a pharmacy attached to your wrists. Let's review the toolkit you now possess. You have the isometric hand squeeze to physically widen your arteries and drop resting pressure. You have the pillow prop to stop false alarms and incorrect readings. You have the Higu point and warm water soak to shut down stress and open up circulation. You have the open palm breathing and prayer stretch to sync your heart and lungs. You have the loose grip rule and steering wheel reset to stop sabotaging your heart during activity. You have the hand portion method and morning stiffness check to keep your blood sugar in the safe zone. And you have the maintenance tools, grip strength, hydration pinch, and finger rotation. You do not need to do all 15 of these things every single day. That would be a full-time job. Pick 1 or 2 that resonated with you. Maybe you are the person who grips the steering wheel too tight. Start there. Maybe you are the person whose hands are always cold. Start with the warm water. Maybe you are the person who hates the diet scales. Start with the hand portion method. Small changes, compounded over time, lead to massive results. I have seen patients like Robert, Margaret, and Martha transform their health just by paying attention to these small details. They didn't run marathons. They didn't starve themselves. They just used their hands. Your doctor might not have time to teach you all of this in a 15-minute appointment, but now you know. You have the power to influence your own physiology. Take a look at your hands right now. Open them. Close them. They are strong. They are capable. And they are the key to a healthier heart and a longer life. Use them well. If you found this video helpful, please do me a favor. Click the subscribe button. It helps me reach more seniors who are struggling with these same issues. And share this with a friend or family member who needs to hear it. Together, we can lower the pressure and live better. I'm Dr. Ben Harris, and I'll see you in the next video.